In this video, I'm going to tell you why most beginners that get into this never actually make 10K a month or any amount of substantial money really. So what's the difference between the people that do make that 10 to 20K a month and the people that don't? What I typically see is this. The way that you hear about this is through social media, through a YouTube video, an Instagram video, and everyone on your feed's telling you you can make 10K a month, you can make 20K a month. So people hear that and they buy into someone's program, they land a high ticket sales job, and then if they don't start making outrageous money or like 10K a month immediately, then they see that as like some kind of failure and they just quit. But in reality, that specific job, the first job you landed was a failure, not high ticket sales as a whole. So usually people just don't give this enough time. If they had stayed in that role for 3 to 4 months, they would have hit 10K a month, but they don't, they give up. So this is just a typical example that happens to people who quote unquote fail at this. If you come into this and you land a job and you end up making around 3 to 4K a month in that role to start, or even if you get in there and you're only making about 2K a month, I don't know, something really small, and you're doing that consistently, that's still not a failure, and this is why. One is there's going to be ramp time in any sales job. It doesn't matter if it's high ticket sales or what sales job it is, and you may only make like a lower amount in the first 3 to 4 months, but then you jump up to 10K a month after that. That's how sales usually works. Or maybe it was just a bad job altogether. It doesn't really matter because as long as the product that you're selling is legit and the business has their shit together, you're going to get to 10K a month and higher many times. But if this has happened to you or you're getting into this, what's important is what you do next. The most successful closers that I know have all been on multiple offers. I've sold for more offers than I can count. My situation is a little bit different, but it's still the same. I rarely meet a closer who's doing 20K a month or more that was like his first offer. And he's only been on that one the entire time. So lots of people fail at this because they get into their first job, they don't make 6 figures in like a week, so they just give up and that's why they fail. But the successful people, let's say they only made like 4K a month in that first closer role and it wasn't really that great of a business, but they ended up doing that for a few months. And while they were working that closer role, they were just searching for other closer roles at the same time. So not only are they getting experience, they're taking sales calls, there's money coming in, and they're building their skills. But what they didn't do is get in there and think, oh, it's been 1 month. This is bullshit. And then they got discouraged and gave up. That's what they didn't do. They just said, okay, this wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be, this role, but at least I'm on calls and getting experience and I'm getting cash flow coming in. I'll just do this job well until I find the next one. I know this space is legit. There's tons of good closer jobs out there. There's tons of closers making sick money, so I'll just keep going until I get that great role. And then because they're already in a high ticket sales role, because high ticket experience is highly in demand, they're able to move on to a better offer and start making more money more quickly, making that 10K a month and more. So the point is this, those people are now making the money that you want to make, doing high ticket sales. What you are trying to do, they're doing it. And all they did differently than most people is they didn't get discouraged when they got into their first role and there wasn't this life-changing money like falling from the sky in month 1. The internet's just warped people's minds. I blame social media for this. This is what I see all the time. People get into this and within 2 to 3 months they aren't at 10K and they just quit and give up. They just think, oh, we used to get into high ticket sales. The second you land your role, a week later, I'm making $10,000 to $20,000. Rarely happens. And people can't seem to accept, oh, maybe after I get the role that I had to work hard to get, maybe for a few months, I still might have to make less money. And worst case scenario, I might have to do a couple offers before I get there. Like that's some huge end of the world disaster. You can't wait a year to be making $200,000. And for context, when I show this opportunity to high ticket sales to adults who are like older, who've worked real jobs that were difficult, right? And didn't have any of these opportunities. And I show them how much money you can make after like 6 months. They're like, what? That's not real. They're like, that's insane. And I'm like, yeah, that's the internet. But for most people, especially if they're younger, social media has warped their mind. They're like, oh, I have to work for a few months to make $10,000 a month? Psh, that's a pyramid scheme. So if this has happened to you, this is what you need to do. If you're on a roll that's turned out to not be great and you're not at 10K a month, what you need to do is ask yourself these questions. Am I getting consistent sales calls every day that people are showing up to? Okay? And then you should ask, does this product or service have good client results? If the answer to these is yes, you just need to stick in there. You're in a good role for the most part. If the answer is no to those, and you are just in a bad job, you can either move on or you can stay in there and get experience like we talked about and just search for the next job. But just realize that there are tons of people making insane money doing this, which means that you can do it too. So what you need to ask yourself or say to yourself is, if I'm not making that money, either I'm the problem or this specific job is the problem. Just because one job didn't work out doesn't mean the next one won't. And side note, think about how ridiculous it is to get into like one or even a couple high ticket sales jobs that aren't good and then just make this ridiculous decision that, oh, this entire industry is a scam when there's tens of thousands of businesses. But the 2 to 3 that you experience, your little tiny childlike experience, is the whole picture? Are you, bro, what? Are you stupid? Do you have brain damage? But this is every person. They come to me and they're like, I was on a couple offers. This whole industry is a scam. They all say the same thing. Like, think about how it's how a child behaves. Do you have a brain? But even if you searched for months for that first job, you now have the compounded effort and experience of searching for good high ticket sales roles under your belt, which means it's way easier to find the next one. And you're just going to give up because one job wasn't great, or you've been working at this for 6 months or more and it hasn't worked out yet. You're just going to carry that habit, that inability to persevere into anything that you do. And the worst part is, the longer you've been working at something, the less you should give up. Because the longer you've been working at it, if you give up, that's going to be I hate the word trauma, but that's just going to damage you. Like, if you've been working at something for a year and you give up at month 11, you're fucked. You have to keep going. That's way worse than giving up if you've been trying for a week. You know what I'm saying? So there's no other option. You have to finish it. You have to keep going. But for more context on this subject, I have a family friend who's worth 9 figures. He builds and sells home service businesses. And when I was young, him and my dad have been friends for decades. When I was a little kid, I always looked up to him and would ask him questions about money and getting rich whenever he and my dad were hanging out. Because my family doesn't have any money, but he does. And what he told me at a certain point once I got older was it took him over 5 years, longer than 5 years at the start of trying and failing at these different service businesses. He didn't really know what he was doing or what he was going to do before he ever got the first one to work and be profitable. 5 years of just trying and failing. He didn't have the fucking internet. This was probably in the 90s or some shit, or the 80s. I don't even know. So he didn't have what we have. He was just fucking shooting in the dark, right? 5 straight years of trying and failing, and he just never stopped. He just never gave up. And now he's worth a colossal amount of money. That's stupid money, bro. 9 figures? But what if he had done what pretty much every fucking dude I talk to in high ticket sales does? Oh, my first job didn't work out. This is so hard. This is a scam, bro. I'm just gonna go have a fucking childlike emotional crybaby explosion in a comment section. So just some perspective, because that always helps me come back to reality. I put my phone down and I think about the real examples of rich people who I've actually met in real life and the stories that they've told me. And they're like, yeah, for 5 years, nothing happened. 5 years! And he wasn't mad about it. He wasn't crying. He's I just kept doing it because I'm a grown man. And some final encouragement, or another thing. But I wanted to finish that thought. That perspective always brings me back to reality, and I'll always think, okay, I'm not trying hard enough. I'm being a baby. If I have to work at this for years, then I will. And some final encouragement. This is the beginning of an amazing opportunity that everyone in 5-10 years is going to be doing. And you're going to quit before you reap all the benefits of that. You are getting in at this at the right time. There are people creating new offers in internet businesses every day. You're never going to run out of good opportunities or good jobs in this space. This right now is a criminally good opportunity. Now, can you land a 10K a month role in your first job and hit that in the first couple of months and be good? Yeah, sure, that does happen to people all the time. But what's also common is the scenarios we talked about in this video. Maybe your first job isn't the best. So you get a few months of experience and then you jump to a better one, and then 6 to 12 months later, now you're making 15K a month. 1 or 2 years from now, you're making above 20K a month. Like, that's such an objectively short period of time for very little work. And you're doing it at home with a ton of flexibility and freedom. Building a skill, sales, is going to benefit you for life. How is that not a fantastic fucking opportunity that's worth putting a ton of work into? So I feel like most people need to come into this with they need to drop their entitlement and have a better attitude. Just think, this is a great opportunity that's been verified. There's tons of people doing this. I just need to work hard and find a good role. And if it's not my first role, that's okay. I'll just keep going because the next one will be. So that's the end of the video. If you want my help getting a closer role or an appointment setter role, go to the links in the description. Until next time.